Good afternoon, everyone. It's again a privilege and a pleasure to be on the stage here. I'm sure all of you enjoyed the Bollywood, specifically entertainment session about how the Whistling Wood is trying to make an impact in the Bollywood industry. Here I have investors with me, which will tell you how are they trying to create an impact in the startup ecosystem. I think India's startup story has created headlines all over the world, and it is the most promising story. But in last couple of years, the greatest rally that we saw has a lot of changes right now. In fact, deals are happening, but in pockets. So my one quick question before I get into some specifics to all of you is, what is the current situation? Are you, as an investors, signing check as frequently as possible, releasing funds as frequently as possible, the way you used to do it earlier, or you are absolutely going slow? Ladies first, I will start with you.
Yes, we are writing checks and would like to write them as fast as we can. So depends on the entrepreneurs walking in the door. But yes, we are investing. Short answer.
Sure, I'm sure people will catch you after the session. Vikram.
Great.
So we are currently investing from our third fund, which is 2,100 crore in size. In the last 3 months, we have committed almost about 700 crores. And some of those investment announcements you would already seen in the last few weeks, and I think you'll see a few more happening. Almost one a week you will see. So, and this is, I'm talking about almost about 50 crore average ticket size. So that's the kind of speed with which we are currently investing, and we are almost getting ready with the Fund 4 as the continuation of that investment momentum.
Fantastic. The company of Vikram has invested in more than 75 companies, by the way. Sagar, please go ahead.
No, I think as Vikram and Ritu rightly mentioned, we are deploying, all of us, right? There's a lot of capital, a lot of dry powder available. As long as good quality companies are there, we'll always be ready to cut checks, right? So we are very bullish. We are raising our Fund 2 as well, closer to 1,800 crores. So we'll be deploying capital as well.
Amish, before you answer, just tell me, ये जो glasses पहने हैं, are they from Lenskart?
Yeah, I have to, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
By the way, this company has invested in Lenskart. That's why I asked that.
Yeah,
Please go.
thank you so much. Chiratae as a brand has been there the firm has been there for 20 years. We are possibly amongst the large VC funds from India today, being 1.3 billion AUM today. And this is our 7th fund and the 20th year. So we are actively investing. I think market may feel that, is there a funding meter continuing or no? That's no longer the case. It's a time to find right ideas, back right founders, as everybody on the panel is, so are we actively investing. Yeah.
Sure. Pulkit?
Hello, yeah. Same with us. So we are actively deploying from our Fund 3, which is a $120 million fund, which we announced the final close in February, a couple of months back. And we are also setting up a fund with IT Madras that will be a 1,000 CR fund, including the green shoe option. From that fund also we'll actively deploy throughout the year going forward.
Sure. So there is a great positivity. I guess if you look at the data, many fintechs which used to raise maybe millions of dollars, we have seen some reduction there. A couple of fintechs have also closed down in last 2 years. There are many startups coming up in AI, deep tech space also. But great to see the energy from the investors here and the positivity that yes, all is not wrong. In fact, the kind of segment they operate is quite positive. So let me come back to you, Ritu, and try to understand from you. Where are you seeing the positivity? Where are you optimistic? Where are you actually signing the checks? Which sectors, which segments, and how much money are you trying to dilute there?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And, so I think there is definitely, we were just doing a retrospective on deal flow at Ankur. And clearly between 21, 22, maybe even 23 to these last couple of years, there's a bit of a shift as what is happening, right? And I think the shift is towards two things. One, which, we can call AI, and I know the conversation here is about AI. But actually, I think it's more in India, it's much more about how AI can change how we run businesses. So there is, it may come as a pitch to you about AI, but it's actually enabling businesses to work better is what that shift is. And the second thing, which is an interesting shift, and I think this is a global shift, is moving from software to hardware and hard tech. So a pretty large percentage of the deal flow focused on what we're calling deep tech, but essentially spans semiconductors to energy to manufacturing, but just hard actual products versus just software-led products. So that's a shift even in the Indian ecosystem that you see. Whether led by sovereignty or whether led by whatever, there are entrepreneurs that are sort of addressing these. So I think these sectors will continue to pull in capital. They are also need a lot of capital for the larger scale. So I think even in India, this is what is happening and will continue to happen for the next 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Sure. Vikram, where are you investing? While exchanging notes, you said that the deep tech is one area where you are quite positive. But why deep tech? What makes you so confident about deep tech and specifically AI? And also, what kind of segments do you think will be magnetized or will be far more fetching interest for the investors in current situation?
So we broadly have 3 themes. So first is the India consumer and growth story. So there we are investing in a lot of consumer, healthcare, fintech, logistics, invested in companies like Purple, Clovia, Bluestone, and logistics companies like Celsius, Blitz, and fintech companies like FT Cash and FinPay and others. The second segment is India for the world. So Indian entrepreneurs catering to the global markets. So we have quite a few interesting models there and quite a few AI companies as well, like Elucidata AI, which is a drug discovery company, Get My Parking, which is a parking solution for the global markets. And the third vertical is deep tech. And within deep tech, we look at multiple themes. And we look at space tech, defense tech, semiconductors, biotech, IoT, and of course AI is a very important piece there. So there we are actually taking much higher risk and we are even going very early. And at the center of these 3 themes is our endowment model. The way we work on this is actually a significant part of our profit actually goes back to the education ecosystem to set up the endowments in the country. So we set up India's first endowment fund at IIT Delhi, and now we're helping other IITs and other education institutions to set up their endowments. And when many people ask me, how does that benefit your fund? Actually, it's the other way around. I mean, the endowment is a core passion. VC is actually a means to that. So venture capital is basically to service and work towards this endowment ecosystem. So we're quite passionate about setting up this endowment. And the objective of this endowment is actually to help invest in entrepreneurs or very early stage deep tech founders and researchers across the country who are working in early TRL stages of development in deep tech. So that's the overall model that we're working on.
Sagar, my point is specifically on the AI. A lot of fintechs used AI, and typically the topic of this session is most on the AI. So, AI is the flavor of the season, no doubt about it, and every investor is looking to invest into AI format. But what about the rules and regulations? I want you to answer this because you are dealing with fintechs quite aggressively, and rules and regulation is a major problem there. So currently there is nothing major except data protection. How are you investors looking at regulations before investing into AI-led startups, specifically fintech, Sagar?
I think very interesting question, Amol, right? As you rightly mentioned, we are a fintech investor, right? So regulations is the first thing that we wake up in the morning with, right? And we want to be on top of regulations every day. I think every technology revolution globally, right, is followed with regulations and compliance, right? Sometimes it's a patchwork, sometimes it's an innovation framework, right? I think India is still going through the journey where innovation framework towards regulation is catching up, right? In the last 4 years, you would have seen a lot of developments in regulation, but there were a lot of patchwork. Problems were solved later on rather than thinking proactively. I think in AI-first world, we want problems to be solved slightly more proactively, right? There's across the board where regulatory changes are required or updates are required, right? We don't have a sovereign model which is getting built in the country, or there's attempt to make a sovereign model in the country, starting with that itself, right? We have to think about data privacy. We have to think about consumer discrimination. We have to think about data storage, content underwriting at the same time, right? We have to think about hiring. We have to think about customer service. We have to think about customer products, marketing, right? Across the board, AI is going to make an impact inside the organization and outside the organization. Within both of that, you need regulations, right? Can we take cues from US and Europe because they're slightly ahead of us in terms of regulation? Possibly, yes. So we are looking at founders who are compliance first, whose regulatory first mindset. In the last 6 years, wherever we have invested money, we've not had a single regulatory challenge in any of our companies. Or at least our companies didn't go down, right? Primarily because the approach is very clear. If you understand regulation, you can build a large company in the country, right? Today, Grow is listed, $15 billion market cap, following a compliant process towards building a business, right? So even in AI, founders who follow regulation and stay ahead of the journey will end up delivering a large outcome. And we are looking at founders who are building compliant businesses in the country.
Sure, that was meaningful. So, Amish, I think your company has invested in more than 100 companies, I think some 135, 40 companies, right? When now AI is the flavor of the season, how do you look at it? So, do you want startups to use AI in their product and businesses? Or do you want them AI-based startups only? कि बॉस अगर AI नहीं है तो मैं पैसा नहीं दूंगा. Product में AI है तो ठीक है थोड़ा बहुत देख लेंगे. How's it?
Very interesting question. I'll take the second part first, which is about investing in AI companies. We are certainly very, very bullish. India, at the juncture where we are, doing horizontal AI may or may not be as viable. Though fortunately, we have one company which we share with IvyCap, with Vikram. It's a company called Miko, which has possibly the only company in the world to have children-related, intelligence and insights, okay? So could be the world's only, possibly, okay, which we share, both of us. But on the AI side, what is the focus is verticals, okay? Domain-specific AI companies is what we will be backing, and we are actively backing. Now to the first part, how to use AI, whether you have to use AI, it's a no-brainer. It has to be used. If you're not using, you're redundant from now onwards. Okay, there is a massive impact on productivity, which everybody is seeing. Even at our fund itself, even at our level, all of us are now being measured of how effective are you and how much of more can you do with that same time that you have. So AI is a necessity. It's a must. People have to use it judiciously and for the right things. Yeah.
What about you, Pulkit? You're also looking at AI quite aggressively before investing, or it's okay? I mean, if AI is not there, still you will go bullish on it, or without AI, there is no money.
Great. So just a quick intro about our mandate as well. So the broad umbrella category where we invest in is B2B, and within B2B, deep tech is a big part of our portfolio, along with obviously AI and a few other domains as well. Within deep tech, we invest in domains like semiconductor, robotics, health tech, then different other domains as well within deep tech. Within AI, we have like broad 2-3 markets where we actively look at. AI infra is one major play where we're actively investing in. And vertical AI is another major domain where we kind of actively look at. Horizontal AI is obviously a very big market, but we are seeing a lot of innovation being adopted from US back in India, especially at the LLM side of things. So AI will be a major theme where we'll actively invest in. But let's say if a company is building in cybersecurity, right, or in a device tech domain, not pure AI, but still catering to a big market, we are also open to that category of investments as well, along with AI, of course.
Okay, so now maybe I will have some specific questions, but one question, so maybe 2 speakers. Ritu, I will start with you. AI is the flavor of the season. All of you are interested in AI. Everybody is talking about AI. Now the question is, when you invest in AI startups, how do you evaluate? Because most of the companies who have developed AI do not know whether they will actually generate the value or not. So what metrics are you using before signing a check to invest in AI startups, Ritu?
Good question, right? Because as it is, there's a lot of buzz around it, right? So you have to unpack what the value creation is with what is happening with AI. So let me give you an example, right? So we sit on a B2B supply chain company that, works with the fruit value chain. So apples, bananas, pomegranates, just or the like, right? And you'd say, what does AI have to do in a company like this, right? So that entire supply chain, there are multiple different points, right? Which is has been very labor intensive, let's put it this way. Whether you've had people or whether you've had people to grade stuff, you have people to move stuff, all of that. And what you can actually measure is how AI is coming in and reducing that cost. So if it took, 15 people to be engaging out there, you can probably do that with a third of that. So that's straight away the value creation you can see there, right? So if, for example, in this particular situation, product had to get graded, right? And there was a lot of errors in that, right? So you now have this happening on a phone with AI algorithms on top of it. So you realize that you can reduce the error in that. So you can measure the value, the economic value of AI. And for a set of companies that are using AI to drive businesses, that's really what we look for underneath, right? That what is the value creation that AI is doing, right? It's going to become ubiquitous. So you have to be able to use it most efficiently to get the value out of it. We have another set of companies which are more deep tech, and they're doing some more fundamental frontier innovations. So for example, we just made an investment into a nuclear fusion company. And one of the things that was really exciting about this company is because today is the first time, to do nuclear fusion, you have to create plasma, and to control that plasma is difficult. But AI is playing a role in being able to real time, and the compute that is available to real time to be able to control that plasma. So in that kind of scenario, it is a change, it's a paradigm shift. So you're saying, how is AI being used to really make something happen that never happened before? So that's the metric that you would use on that side. So that's really how we look at the two sides of where AI is playing here.
Sure, notable points. Vikram, I also want you to add on the same point. What metrics are you using specifically while investing in AI startups? And more importantly, how do you look at the whole impact versus your return impact versus your investment journey while investing in AI?
Yeah, so eventually, as investors, since we manage third-party capital, right, we have to return the money to our investors with the minimum threshold IRR that we've committed to our investors. Eventually, it all boils down to what's the value you're going to create from these businesses that you're investing in. And value is derived from the profit metric, right? So you look at what kind of revenues this company can generate and what kind of costs. So eventually, even if it's a solution like, for example, we recently invested in a company called Turbo Hire. They are basically automating the entire recruitment process, and they're already working with Lenskart is one of their clients. Many of the pharma companies are their clients, and people who are recruiting in large numbers, they will optimize on their entire recruitment process. So what you look at is the customer's willingness and ability to pay for a solution like this, and also what kind of a disruption is possible to their own solution. So maybe 2 years down the line, something else comes, because technology gets disrupted so fast. So you also have to look at, eventually it comes down to the team, whether this team can defend any disruptions happening in their areas and therefore continue to evolve and build newer solutions so that they continue to defend their revenues and their values. So we look at 5 to 6 year time frame for exit. We look at what kind of value they will create over that period of time, how they are going to be able to deliver that value to the customers, and therefore, eventually what kind of returns we can create. On the impact side, we also see what is the real impact they're actually making on the ground. For example, in the healthcare space, you can actually measure it based on the value created for, we've invested in a company called I Can Heal, which is in critical healthcare. So there we actually helping patients afford healthcare for critical care like cancer. And AI is actually helping in not only understanding what kind of solutions are possible for the specific care, but if they also are able to provide financing to the patients using AI. So all this actually helps in giving not only much better solution, but also at much better value to the patient.
Do you use AI, Vikram?
I think these days people don't have an option, right? I mean, if I ask the audience, I think probably majority of the people wouldn't have even heard of a chat GPT 3 years back, and today I think probably everybody in the hall is using that, right? And I think we'll see probably 3 years down the line, we all might be using something that we haven't heard of today. So that technology is changing that fast. But it's actually good for us because a lot of it is actually helping you do things better, faster, and in much better cost-efficient manner.
So Sagar, obviously you can add if you want, but my important question to you now is, every fintech I meet is like aggressive on AI. Previously they were aggressive on big data. Before that they were aggressive on blockchain. Many things didn't happen, few things happened. So AI हो रहा है कि ये hype है? What is your personal view specifically on the AI? And more importantly, what will actually make you sign a check if somebody comes and tells you कि बस मैं AI use कर रहा हूँ?
So on a lighter note, हम भी सीख रहे हैं कि हो क्या रहा है AI में. But coming to the point, right? I think combining both the questions, very important development in the economy globally, right? Which is AI evolution, the way it is being used, the way it is being developed, right? This clear productivity efficiency that we are seeing across the board, right? As a regulated sector, we have to be extremely cautious when I'm investing, when we are evaluating. So it starts with our portfolio companies. We ask all our portfolio companies to tell us what are they doing with AI. And if they're doing with AI, present us at the board meeting, what is the outcome of that AI? Did you do any improvement? If there was an investment made towards AI, what is the ROI on that investment? Did the efficiency change? Did the workflow change? Number of people hired were lesser, or the revenue outputs were better? Show us those numbers at the board meeting. Plus, shows how compliant that AI solution is as per the regulation of RBI, right? If all of that is falling in place, we encourage that. We obviously recommend all our portfolio companies to do that. Second, we spend a lot of time with EY, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC. They are implementation partners. They are working with all the big financial services companies to implement AI in their companies, right? If they are recommending, they can only recommend when they've done a thorough diligence of the startup, right? Saying that we like your product, we like your technology. We've seen now a lot of competitors, 60, 70 competitors. Now we are saying you're ready to go and implement AI, right? So that's second aspect. Third, my LPs and our LPs, I think Vikram's LPs also a lot of banks. So we talk to our banks. We ask them, what are you using, right? And why are you using these AI startups? Where is it actually helping you? Is RBI allowing you, right? And where are the gaps in the supply chain ecosystem that you're using these guys, right? When we get answers from all three, our portfolio companies, implementation partners like EYs, right? And LPs as well, then at least there's a confidence that a product is being fundamentally used across the three verticals. That's when our interest becomes very high. We go spend time with the team, try to understand their background, their journey, the business models. In India, it's very difficult to get somebody to pay you for anything, right? We're value customers. We want everything cheap. हमें Uber भी सस्ता चाहिए, right? We want something cheap in life. So when you get AI also, you want at a very attractive price. So then you have to understand, are people willing to pay for it? If people are willing to pay for it, team is good, compliance and regulations are top notch, and customers are using the product. That's when we are ready to say, hey, we are willing to cut a check, right? To help you build the 10x journey from here on. So that's a very long drawn process. Try to summarize in a short way. But it's a hard ball. It's a tough one to crack and say, we will invest in an AI startup so easily.
I hope AI will also help us summarize. Hopefully. So, Amish, Lenskart से कितना पैसा बनाया?
बहुत ज़्यादा.
So, Lenskart से जितना ज़्यादा पैसा बनाया, do you think अभी जो AI में investments हो रहा है, उससे उतना पैसा बनेगा?
Possible. See, the way our LPs, हमारे investors, the reason they are backing us is because somewhere they trust that this team will be able to go and find that next Piyush Bansal or find that next, Mukesh Bansal or, one of these, rockstar founders that you've heard of, Super Maheshwari and all of them. We've been, lucky to have found all of them. But at the core, fundamental, which applies for all of us here, and somewhere more for us because we come in very early, seed to Series A, as the parlance is in this part of the world. We start coming in a very commonsensical way, even at idea stage. Okay. So what is core for our teams? They have to continuously be at speed of what is happening in the world, across the world. Okay. Proactively figure out which are the domains we want to back. There are a lot of companies which will come thanks to the brand that we have. People will come inbound. Founders will keep coming. Can you fund us? But more importantly, what is happening more today is our teams are taking sub-verticals, forming their own hypothesis within, let's say, consumer, fintech, deep tech, etc., wherever. What is that I want to chase? Where can I go and find the next big guy? So we map a sector, then try to meet all the founders in that domain. Okay. And then, of course, it is, the art and science of identifying the right team, the right company, and then, helping them. Because see, a lot of pivots also happen. If you take the Lenskart story, we were the first institutional check there. When we started, Lenskart was 4 companies. 4 different cards were there: Lenskart, back card, jewel card, something else. But as it evolved, with the feedback from the market, with feedback from investors like us, and few other mentors, eventually figured out that keep everything aside, Lenskart was the smallest of the 4 cards that he had. But then a call was taken that, yeah, this is where it is, and that's where the founder should double down. And today we see that, the whole consumption perspective has changed for specs, the way we wear. People without numbers are also having like 4 pairs of specs today, as an example, right? So this is what, so we have to back the right guy, but first back the right idea. Yeah.
I think that was detailed one, Amish. So Pulkit, maybe 1 or 2 part of the same question. Will you bet on the founder or the product which he has developed with AI, or will you bet on the product which doesn't have AI at all, completely going ahead?
So I think it's a mix of both. You have to kind of look at the team as well as the market as well. So just to give you in perspective, so all the hyperscalers right now are expected to spend around $1 to $2 trillion by 2030 in building the data centers. So a lot of capex is going to go into building these capacity for AI compute. Then to get back that 2 trillion which they have invested in building these data centers, they are expecting to automate a lot of workflows. So around 30-40% of the global GDP is knowledge work. So they're expecting to automate that a lot. So in both these domains, the capex spend, we look at a bit more on the team side of things. That if the team has that caliber to build data centers, to kind of scale things up. One of our companies in this segment called as Clues has recently raised a $22 million round from Greenhook Ventures. So we invested early into them. So they are on the capex side of things. A team over there becomes very, very important. On the workflow automation side of things, product kind of gains a lot of value, right? So you need to really understand which part of the knowledge work you're going to automate. Is that going to be made redundant by Claude tomorrow? So going deep into the product part of things, especially on the automation of workflows, becomes very important. So we have a couple of investments in that domain. One is Beacon.li, which is into the implementation automation space. And the other is in the debt collection space called as Vodex. So you have to go very deep into the product and figure out, what part of the workflow is being automated and is it safe against, other LLMs being automating it tomorrow. So that part becomes very critical, the product part in workflow automation field.
Meaningful one, Pulkit. So my one, maybe more like a thought, not a direct question, but I would like you, all of you, to maybe react or share your own perspective. First is, though everybody is quite interested in AI and trying to do something or build something on AI, the background layer is not with still India, right? We are using maybe NVIDIA, the chips from other companies, and ultimately, even if I use ChatGPT subscription, I'm paying to the foreign company. So money is going abroad. How the investors are looking at it, that is one part. And do you see, by investing in AI startups, maybe the next unicorns will also come from this segment, next semiconductor chips will also come from this segment. Are you bullish about it? This is my question to all of you. Ritu, I will start with you.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there are three things here, right? In my mind, you have to have energy, you have to have compute, right? And you have to have people, right? That we have. The other two things, if we don't have the crux of it, as you said, we are just a pipe of creating more revenue for these hyperscalers, as you labeled it, right? So we just made an investment into a chip company, right? And actually the deal flow in the chip companies is really high in India today because a lot of Indians were at other chip companies and they're starting their own chip companies. But, you know, from an India context, and there's lots of other places in the world as well. So it can start in India and grow elsewhere, but can you make the chips that will work in the kind of use cases that we have versus having to buy an NVIDIA chip, right, which is not really going to make it. Are you going to have the data centers in India? Do you have the power to back up those data centers? Or, you know, we have a Hormuz and we are messed up, right? So those are very fundamental innovations, which I think actually, you know, if they succeed, they make a lot of money, right? Because they are like the sort of infra layer at some layer. So those definitely are, for us, is a huge area of focus.
Yeah, I'll be very quick here. Actually, I think I'll tell you why I'm really excited about the India story right now. I think very recently the government allocated about 1 lakh crore through RDI, which is actually very focused on deep tech. And I think it's a very pleasant surprise with the speed with which they're actually allocating that capital and giving to not just funds like us, but also to startups directly. And it's amazing how that capital is actually getting utilized. And their government has actually set a limit from the time the proposal comes to the money that has to be dispersed. I think given that amount of capital, and they're also talking about a multiplier effect to that, you know, they're willing to go up to 50% of the total capital being raised. I think there is a 2x factor of the overall impact on the startup ecosystem, if you look at it. And all this happening in a very short period of time. Imagine the number of startups which otherwise would never have got funded in deep tech space, would get funded in a very short period of time. You'll see some of the brilliant entrepreneurs coming out from this system and some amazing unicorns coming out of this. I'm really excited about that.
Same here. I think the sector, which is the largest sector of the country, is financial services, right? And I think AI has the largest potential to create maximum value and extract the maximum value out of this sector, coming from all the way to banks, to insurance companies, to payment companies, to wealth companies, right? You can really extract value, make it cheaper, affordable, and accessible with the use of AI, all financial products for all the consumers and businesses in the country, and that will create 10x market cap just in the financial services space. So we are very excited to see what comes out of it. We're waiting for good companies. We're backing them at the same time.
I think I'll say a simple thing. Whenever massive disruptions happen in the world, humans are to benefit. And there's a simple cycle. Massive investment, okay, coming, of course, starting with the US companies or these international players. They will offer convenience and comfort and higher productivity to people who are operating and using it. Like in the earlier era, when, you know, Flipkart and all started, there were massive discounts. Who benefited? The customers, new habits are formed. So as I said, either it's convenience or productivity improvement. So humans benefit there. Second, look at the scale of potential of employees making money today. In this whole journey, Indians are across board. So we are not really losing out. We are sitting in and making benefits. A lot of CEOs outside are from here, right? Third is all the infrastructure and backend that will go, as ma'am said, the data centers, infrastructure, semiconductor. Again, we are benefiting. And in the end, it's the founder who's making money, and that circle going back, we are making money as investor. And we are returning more to the same people who are investing with us. So it's a good cycle and really time to make good money. Yeah.
Just one point. So I know right now we are spending a lot of money using the international LLMs. We are paying OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc. But two trends I feel are going to come up quite soon. One is sovereign AI in India. We are already seeing companies like Servam reducing the voice AI cost quite a bit as compared to 11 Labs and other companies in US and European market. And the other trend which we might see quite soon is open source Indian low cost AI being used extensively. In China, that trend has taken off like anything. But in India, pretty soon we are going to see that trend as well. On the semiconductor side, I feel we are already there. We are already kind of seeing a lot of sovereign play, Indian fabless chip companies doing great work. We have one company in that domain called as Nitra Semi. On the AI side also, we'll pretty soon see some good sovereign companies coming out of India.
Certainly, let's hope for the best. I'm more excited to see the underlying asset behind the AI and not just ChatGPT, because at the end, if you start paying them, the money will go abroad and the cost is huge. I was talking to a couple of people and they said those who are using ChatGPT and other subscription models extensively for the even operational work, they says it's better to hire 10 people than to pay the AI because the cost is that much. I have time for one question if anybody has. Yeah, can we have a question from you?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abhishek. I'm from Bright Outdoor Media Limited. We are the first outdoor media company that got listed on Bombay Stock Exchange. Well, my question to you, to the esteemed panel out there, the moderator used this word, I think 5 times, that the AI is the flavor of the season. So my question to you people is, what distinguishes a fundable AI startup from the one that's just riding the wave? That's number one. Number two is, what are the biggest risks, the investors in India are underestimating at the moment in the AI space, AI startup space? Yeah.
Sure. Vikram, do you want to say?
No, as I said, eventually it's all, how this is creating value. So we always look at the core business value being created by AI. We can talk about everything about technology and everything. We are seeing a lot of entrepreneurs just being able to walk into the door just because they use the .ai domain. And I think jokingly people say Air India was able to raise a lot of capital because it started calling themselves AI. So I think just because you're using terminology AI doesn't make you fundable. But if you're able to showcase, because you look at the 5-year plan, we ask very hard questions about where the revenues are going to come from, where the costs are going to go, and how the profitability is going to be generated. And how you're going to execute that plan, and how the disruptions which are going to happen over time, how you're going to protect yourself against that. So these are very deep analysis that we do. So that's how we look at the fundable ideas. Maybe second question if somebody else wants.
Yeah, Sagar, if you want to add something on risk, or Amish on.
I think the biggest risk that we see, right, we're very concerned about cybersecurity, right? The amount of data that is available online today, right? And with the accessibility to the hyperscalers that we all are using, from the ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, right? The amount of information we are uploading over there, this is all sovereign information, local data, local consumer information, and a lot of solution and applications are being built on top of these LLMs to create smaller LLMs, right? And that is going to create challenges in terms of data. So we're very worried about the data, we're very worried about the security of that data. The various attacks that you're seeing are only going to increase on all financial institutions, non-financial institutions, because of exposability. You've exposed yourself too much to external vendors and service providers, right? So that's one of the biggest risks that we're seeing because of AI, because that becomes much easier, that becomes much faster. And cyber warfare is the way people are thinking about it in the next 10 years, right? So that's where my worry is, that can AI make this even more worse than what it is already? So that's where we are asking for more companies which can come up and protect the local financial institutions. And I think recently we read about Mythos as well, everybody else, right? So that's where we are a little bit more concerned about.
Sure, Sagar. Thanks for adding that. Thanks, Vikram, for sharing those perspectives. And thank you so much, all of you, for sharing those meaningful thoughts. Thank you. Sir, आज मैंने एक आर्टिकल लिखा हुआ है, spotting the value of AI in finance. Please read it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to us very, very patiently.